Hello and a very warm welcome to the Sacred Womb podcast, where we talk about all things to do with befriending our menstrual cycle, deeply healing both our feminine and masculine aspects, and how we can indeed utilise our cyclical nature as a natural spiritual pathway that's encoded within our bodies. I'm your host, Melanie Swan, and you can also go to thesacredwomb.com for more information and loads of fantastic free resources. Well, hello there, and a very warm welcome back to the Sacred Womb podcast. This is episode 15, the crucial difference between the new moon and the dark moon. This is something I get asked about a lot, so it's something I thought I would clarify in a podcast. Before I start on that, I really wanted to let you know that I'm so enjoying interacting with you and getting to know you in the Sacred Womb private Facebook group. There's been more and more women joining in the last couple of weeks as I've been doing more regular podcasts, and I'm so loving your questions, reflections, your inspiration, and that the group's starting to really become a source for women around the world to use to ask questions safely and meet like-minded people. So fantastic with that. If you've not joined yet, there's a link. If you scroll down to the bottom of this blog post, there's a link to join there. And also a little note on the last podcast, the should I bleed in tune with the new moon or the full moon? I've had emails again thanking me for that podcast. It obviously resonated with quite a few of you. Just that message of, look, there's no rules. Just tune into what your womb is communicating when you're bleeding with that phase of the moon. Look for any imbalances if there are any, and make adjustments, and seek out opportunities. So, like if you're bleeding on the full moon, what do I have an opportunity to do now? Bathe my crystals in my blood, pour my blood in the earth. How does that feel? So I know a lot of you were relieved that you weren't bleeding out of sync with the moon, or you should be bleeding in a different way. You know, I'm sure we've all had enough bloody rules, and it was great for me to communicate that as well and clarify it for myself. We just tune into where we're at, no rules, follow our womb and enjoy the process. It's all a big experiment anyway. On we come to the topic of this podcast, the crucial difference between the new moon and the dark moon. So I wanted to start by explaining the new moon and the dark moon. So the new moon is when you look up in the night sky and you see a little slither of the moon just starting to appear. That is the new moon. It's a new cycle. Okay, the dark moon is the night before that. So the night before the new moon, the moon is dark. We can't see it in the night sky at all. That's the end of the last moon cycle. So we have the new moon as the little slither, and that goes round and the moon grows. We call it waxing up to the full moon at around 14 days. And then it wanes again. It starts to get smaller. We start to see less of that moon for the next 14 days until we can't see it at all. That's when I say the moon is void. We cannot see it in the night sky. It's not visible at all. And it is at this point that is we might say, energetic low point. Now, I don't want to mistake low for sad or low in mood. It's just that the energy is low. So the magnetic pull on the earth, the effect of the moon is having on the earth, is at its least. Okay, so when we feel the full moon, we might feel quite bright and quite shiny and lit up and like going out. And when we're in the dark moon phase, it's obviously darker outside. So if you think about when we didn't have artificial lights, when we're living out in the countryside or in the wild, when that moon is dark, everything gets quieter, nature is quieter. And it's more a time of reflection and release and being internal. It's a pause, it's a time of stillness. And this is very, very important to honour, recognise and include when we are going through the process of setting a new intention, letting that grow, letting it come to fruition, making our adjustments, and coming back down to that stillness, that still point and the reflection. Our culture generally is that we want to fill space when we get it straight away. So if you look at online moon charts, all the ones I've seen anyway have the new moon and the full moon, and then the first quarter and the last quarter. The dark moon isn't included. So I think that's why there's a lot of confusion out there as to when is the dark moon. Some people call the dark moon the new moon and the new moon the dark moon. Just think it's a different term for the same thing, and it's not. So when we've released and we've sat with space in the dark moon, the next evening we have the new moon, that tiny slither of light that tells us, a new cycle is beginning. And if you want to set your intention with the new moon cycle, then that's the time to do it with the new moon. When we get round over the next 29-ish days to the dark moon, then we're at the point of release and reflection again. How did that cycle go? What happened? And what's happening now? Not much, it's quiet. How can I make the most of that in my healing process, in my process of growth and expansion? What can I do is a question I get asked a lot, and one that I ask myself. Well, what we can do around the dark moon, and I do this a few days leading up to as well, just recognise that pull inwards, that the moon's pull is less, and notice this change in energy. Now you might be bleeding in tune with this part of the moon cycle. If you're not, again, there are no rules about this. Just take a look at where you are bleeding or what's happening whilst the moon is dark, and see if there are any areas of imbalance, and again, any opportunities. So this dark moon time is often missed out in our culture because we miss out the silence, the space, and the darkness, and the unknown. I was awake at about 4 a.m. one morning, and my guide said to me, the feminine is the unknown. The feminine is the unknown. And I sat with that for a long time and still sit with that, and really noticed that where our feminine essence is missed out in our culture, in our lives, we miss out the dark moon. We miss out the space, the receptiveness. It's not in any calendars. None that I've seen anyway. So when you see the new moon on your calendar, just go a couple of steps back, a couple of days before, and mark it in your diary or journal, the dark moon phase as well. And experiment. I really encourage you to experiment. I mean, what I've experienced is the stillness, the darkness. It's time to clear space. What I tend to do then is make sure I'm clearing all the clutter in my house, clearing any mental clutter. really housekeeping in every form, internally and externally. And I use that time, I key into that time to do that sort of thing. And then when the new moon comes, I recognize the new cycle. Okay, I can set a new intention now if I want to. Personally, at the moment, my bleeding time is just in harmony with the dark moon. So by the time I've finished bleeding, the new moon comes. So that's my preferred time of bleeding, but it's not up to me. It's up to my womb. What my womb is communicating to me right now is, okay, we're really going in with the darkness, the stillness, and the release. And also I'm doing lots of medicine work right now too. So I run ceremonies on the dark moon and the new moon. And it's really, really cool for me not to be right smack in the middle of my period during that time, because I need to be on my own. I need to not be talking. So I bleed just before the dark moon, and my bleed time is finished before the new moon. So that when I do ceremonies, I'm available. My energy is available for that sort of thing. So my body's really working with me. My womb's working with me. I'm working with my womb on that. I really, really want to emphasize again, there are no rules. We don't need any more rules to this. So just have a look at your calendar and tune in on the dark moon. Tune in on the new moon. See where you're at, but recognize there is a difference, a big, crucial difference. And just ponder on why that is. I've given you a few ideas from my perspective. And then ponder, what's your opportunity based on what your intuition is telling you. I do have a couple of ceremonies on the Sacred Womb website, so if you just search for New Moon Ceremony and Dark Moon Ceremony, is a free guided meditation with the Dark Moon Ceremony to help you to sit with the space, if that's what you want to do. And then some guidance on setting your intention and some free chants to download for the new moon, to start a new cycle. Well, I hope that makes sense for you. I'm really looking forward to reading, listening to your reflections, further questions, musings and experiments with that. And also, if you want to work consistently with this and have direct support from me, then come join us in the Moon Lodge. Every full moon we have a ceremony workshop online, so you can join wherever you are in the world. And we either have a ceremony and workshop on the dark moon or the new moon. We tend to alternate them so that we make the most of the energy of both. So we have a couple of live workshops and then some medicine bundles as well to take you really deeper into your own process, cycle, initiate yourself and do the work consistently. It can be hard sometimes, and when we've got a community, we've got some direct support, and we've got some material to work with, that can really, really help us excel. So that's all for today, and I look forward to the next podcast and hearing how you get on with this one. I really hope you enjoyed the podcast and that you got some useful tips out of it that can make a genuine difference in your daily life. And if you'd love to work deeper with this stuff, then do head on over to thesacredwomb.com, where you can sign up to receive the weekly newsletter and an invite to our private Facebook group, where you can share, learn and grow with like-minded women in a safe, supported space. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do leave us a rating, and your comments are very, very welcome. And I'll see you next time.